Hello, artists, and welcome to the Artist Bootcamp. I'm Trey, your workout partner, and let's look at the schedule. Today is February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day. And today we'll be going over shapes, heads and hands, mannequin, anatomy, sculpture, and gesture, and ending it off with perspective, 1-point perspective. We have a lot to do, so let's go. All right, so today, to get started, get us loose and limber. You know the drill, we do shapes. New layer, the brush tool. Let's take a nice blue, and we're just working it out. We're just getting started. It's a new day, a new us. And we will conquer this thing together. We're climbing a mountain, right? This is the mountain called art. And we're just moving on up. One step, one stroke at a time. We're scrubs today. We're heroes tomorrow. I don't know. Just keep it moving. Keep it moving. Don't stop. The only failure is if you quit. Don't quit. That was 2D shapes. Move on to 3D shapes. New layer. Hit that B. Let's see. Let's do a yellowish. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, that doesn't look anything like I thought it would. C'est la vie, such is life. Continuing to move. 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 We'll get there. See that thing in the far distance? That's us being awesome. But we got to get there. One step at a time. We're not worried about perfection. We're just worrying about putting in the work. Putting in the work. And most of the work is just showing up. All right, it's just to show up. Not all days are good days, but we just show up. We put in our reps. Whatever your reps are, show up, do the work. What is your minimum? What is your ceiling? And you just do that. Swooshy swoosh. This is always bad. Focus, Trey, focus. Focus, Trey, focus. And that is our shape warm-ups for today. Yesterday we were looking to have the skull looking up. Today we'll have the skull looking down. So here is the skull looking down, and here is is the huge dome of the cranium, right? Housing the brain, the face, that looks more like a triangle. See that? Attached to this large circle. So let's draw that. V4 for 40% opacity. Make a new layer on top. Let's sketch this bad boy out. So we have all this. Right. Is the cranium housing the brain. But again, there's a bit of a triangle coming down. And the teeth are here, so that's where the mouth would be. The nose is here. Right here's the cavity. And the eye socket. Eye socket. Right. And we have the cheeks, the cheekbone that come in and go into the upper teeth. And the mandible is below that. The hairline would be up here, maybe about here. And we're looking forward. That's the skull from the top view. The eyes would be here. So let's take a look at the human head, which is just my head. Now here we had me looking up, now looking down. So, cranium, looking forward, looking down. But let's draw this. V4 for 40%, opacity, new layer. B for the brush tool. We got my cranium. Housing the brain. And I'm not as foreshortened, but again, you see that triangle coming down towards the chin. So, our hairline. Let's do the side plane, which is something like here, going down, around orbital bone, cheekbones, going down into my chin. Again, going out, around my eye socket and my cheekbone, going down to my chin. Here is my eyebrow, my eyes, the orbital. This is my eye socket, my nose, which is just cartilage sitting on top of the nasal cavity, which would be something like that. My mouth, again, the teeth would be here, about here. And my ears sit up here. But everything's a little bit different because I'm looking downwards. And that is my head looking downwards. Now let's do some hands. In the head and hand section, here we have a hand with the palm facing down. And that will be our focus for today. So let's go to that layer. V for the move tool. 4 for 40% opacity. Let's create another new layer. B for the brush tool. And let's look at this thing. So as a box, it goes like something like this. A modified box. Kind of curves that way. All right. There's a side plane. Another plane. This plane is very shallow because it's curving. Now let's erase some of this back. And do the actual hand. So B for the brush tool. And we've got fingers arranged in a rhythmic pattern. It's like swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. They're all uniform in line. The middle finger, the ring finger, and the pinky. Going into the palm side, we've got the thumb. You can't forget the thumb. Is this the nail right here? Nails. Just to give some information on positioning. All right. And we have the wrist going into the forearm. And the forearm. And the arm. Let's go back to the eraser. Knock this back a bit. Because we were just trying to get, it's all about seeing through an object, right? We're trying to train ourselves to see through things, to underlying structures that will help us to draw that item better. Everything has an underlying structure. And that's what we're trying to get at. Simple shapes to make more complex shapes on top of it. All right, don't get bogged down in the details. Start simple and then build on top. Let's take a look at it's gone. No picture, picture, no picture, picture. And there we have the hand with the palm facing down. Onwards. It's now time for Mannequin. It's just a combination of mannequin and anatomy. So let's run this down one more time from the top. We got the trapezius on the neck and back, right? Goes into a diamond shape along the spine, both sides. Trapezius, deltoid, shoulder, tricep on the back. In front of that is the brachialis, and in front of that is the bicep. It's in the center. Brachioradialis goes from the lower humerus, wraps around into the forearm. There's extensors and flexors, but we just group those, and those are the muscles that move your fingers. We have the pectoralis, going from the sternum, clavicle, and inserting into your humerus. External obliques, muscles on the sides of your body. The rectus abdominis, upper and lower. Gracilis, the inner thigh. The adductor longus is underneath that, but is also underneath the sartorius, which goes from the hip to the inside of the thigh and wraps and inserts into the femur, your leg bone. We have the patella. We have the patellar tendon that goes from the patella down towards the ankle. We have going back up, the vastus lateralis, which is on the side of your thigh. The rectus femoris, which is in the center of your thigh. Anterior tibialis is right next to the patellar tendon, right? On the more of the outside of your lower leg. Fibularis longus, or the peroneus, is on the side. You have the gastrocnemius, your calf muscle. You have your extensors digitorum longus, right next to the anterior tibialis, and goes into your ankle. We've done this before, right? We got this. We're at the halfway mark. We're good. Okay, so now we have this lovely mannequin. We shall select him. Where are you, mannequin? It's like I'm here. V, 40%. And let's first do our usual boxy. Circles and boxes, simple shapes. So, simple circle for the head. Make that an oval if you want to extend that down to the chin. Halfway mark is about the eyes. And just above that is your eyebrow ridge line. Got the hairline. The nose line is about the middle, between the middle of your eyes and your chin. And your mouth is between those, the nose and the chin. So let's do the box. Actually, you know what? Let's do the egg shape, because it's Valentine's Day. What does that have to do with this? I don't know. So there we go. And it kind of makes this shape. Got the sternum, clavicle. Why am I doing this now? Come on. Focus, Trey. Focus. You have the box for the pelvis. Circles for joints. Got the shoulder joints, elbows. Got the wrists, and knees, ankles. And then we have cylinders. 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 Cylinders for your thighs. That sounded just strange right now, what I said. But, and feet. Feet. Hands, of course. All right. And that is more or less the mannequin. Now let's go for some muscles. Put some muscles on this bad boy. So we got the trapezius along the back, covers the scapula on the back. It kind of goes in like a diamond, shaped like that. But since it's the back, we can't see it. So we shall continue on to the deltoid. That we can see. We have the pectoralis wrapping and inserting into the humerus bone of the arm and the sternum and the clavicle. We have the bicep. On the back is the tricep. And the brachialis is between the two. The brachioradialis, see this little bump here? Comes out and wraps towards the inner forearm. We have extensors and flexors that help move your digits. We have the external obliques, where you can get some love handles. We have the rectus abdominis, the belly button. Upper and lower goes and inserts into the pubic area. We have hips, of course. And gracilis, the inside of your thigh. And under that is the adductor longus. The sartorius comes from the hip and wraps into the inner part of your thigh and hooks up with your knee. There's the patella, your kneecap. We're moving and a grooving. We got the rectus femoris. Right. And the bone underneath this is the femur, which is your upper leg bone. The femur, so rectus femoris. And we have the vastus lateralis on the side of your thigh, the outside of your thigh. We have the patella, kneecap, and the patellar tendon coming down as a triangle to your ankle. We have the gastrocnemius, which is your calf. Anterior tibialis, which is next to the patellar tendon, coming down. Fibularis longus, or peroneus, as it is called, on the outside of your calf, going down to your ankle. And next to that is the extensor digitorum longus. Oh, those Romans really knew how to name them. All right. That is the muscles. Muscles. And next, we're moving into statues. Thank you, Mannequin. Thank you. You are no longer needed on set. So statues, we did Michelangelo, David. We did Donatello's, David. So now let's do Andrea del Verrocchio. Verrocchio. I always like Italian names. They have cool ways to pronounce them. So this is, again, after the action. So Michelangelo's, this is before the action. All right, he's about to slay Goliath with his slinging a rock. And this is after the action. And he has done a horrible thing with this knife here to our, well, I guess that's his enemy, so. To Goliath here. And again, we see the contrapposto, right? The S curve, whoosh. His main leg, his relaxed leg, still supporting some weight, but not as much as this one. So that gives you that hip tilt, shoulder tilt. All right, rock and lean, rock and lean. I don't know what I'm saying. We're just gonna continue. Let's draw, shall we? So, V, 40%. Let's turn up to 50. Let's scooch them on over. And first, of course, simple shapes. Let's check it to a purple red. So, we have his head. So we get the back. Comes down. There's his chin. And he's looking off to his left. So here's that center line. We have his eyes and his nose. So that means his ear is between the two. Right? But he has a lot of hair. His mouth line. He has the side plane around the eye socket, around the cheek, and coming towards the chin. Here's his eyebrow ridge, his hairline. So again, let's do the egg shape for the rib cage. He's got the slender, youthful look about him. And you can kind of see this, right? This is the hard shell protecting all the soft bits inside. You have his clavicle. His hips, again, contrapposto, right? Shoulders, hips. Makes for a more dynamic pose. So his hips are like that. And circles for his joints. So we got the shoulder, deltoid. We have his elbows. We have his wrists. His knee. Well, knees, ankles. And behind Goliath's head is his other ankle. And cylinders for limbs. Cylinders for legs. Let's connect that. See through it, Trey. See through the figure. Seeing through the figure. As an artist, that's what you gotta do. You gotta see through the figure. I'm not gonna make a a Sharingan joke. But there we have, well, let's do his hands. He's got hands, doesn't he? One's on his hip, and one is holding this deadly blade. We don't want to know what he did with that. But I think we know what we did with that. Okay. So, that is, switch him up. I would imagine his foot is something like this. Switch him off. And there is David by Andrea del Verrocchio. So now let's do the muscles. New layer. And so we have the trapezius on this slight build, David, and that comes again on the back side. You would see it, all of this, and actually it would come this way too. Right. But that's the back side. And we have the deltoid. Going down, down. We have his pectoralis, clavicle, sternum, wrapping into the humerus bone of his arm. Right. Looks like that. We have the bicep, the tricep, and the brachialis is between the two. Right. So the bicep, he's a ute. Bicep, brachialis, tricep. We have the brachioradialis, which again, you can see it come up just a little bit and come into the inside of his forearm. This is a good example right here. It sits on top. It's that slight bulge. It comes into the inside of the forearm. We have extensors and flexors, all these little muscles of the forearm. We have, let's see, external obliques. We have the rectus abdominis, which you can see a little bit of. His belly button. The lower part goes into the pubic area. His hips, his thighs. So we have the gracilis underneath his little tunic here. The adductor longus and the sartorius coming from his hip, coming down and wrapping around to the inside of the thigh and wrapping into your knee area. You have the patella. You have the patellar tendon coming down. We have the rectus femoris on top of the femur. Vastus lateralis on the outside of the thigh. Again, gracilis, adductor longus, sartorius. Rectus femoris. vastus lateralis. We have the anterior tibialis, which is right next to the patellar tendon. Next to, on the outside of the lower leg. On the inside, we have the gastrocnemius. Gastrocnemius, the calf muscle. Calf muscles. Fibulatus longus, or the peroneus, on the outside of the lower leg, coming down to the ankle. Extensor digitorum longus, next to the anterior tibialis, and going to the ankle. And that is the David. David by Andrea del Verrocchio. Nicely done. I like this statue. So, what's next? Gesture. How could I forget? It's time for the gestures. The gestures. Here's what we did last time. Last time the theme was cowboy. And we did gunfighter shootout. But let's go over why do we do gestures, right? We do gestures to get out our ideas. Everything starts as an idea. And a lot of them aren't very good. Just, you think, hey, this might be cool. And then you go, maybe not. But it's a great way to discover the good ones from the bad ones. A quick and easy way. You don't want to put all the work and effort into making this piece of art and you go, it could have used a little bit more thought. So gesture is the part where we put some thought into it. So today, being Valentine's Day, I thought maybe love would be the theme. But I don't know. I don't know. So let's see. Love. Let's put it in a dark red. Love. And the heart. All right. So when you think of love, what do you think of? Couples? Hearts? Romeo and Juliet? And other stories of that ilk? Love stories? Love stories. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I had a story in my mind. It's like a combination of ideas and stuff. And it was based on Romeo and Juliet. In it, there's, I can't even quite remember how Romeo and Juliet goes, but it took place in New York, like a futuristic New York. And the bottom is like washed out because of the rising waters. But the city, there was a low city that was above the water. And then there's above the clouds, there was the highborn rulers. Let's call them high houses. High house. So the high house, they took all the guns. So there are no guns with the lower class. I don't know where I'm going with this. No guns for the lower class people, right? So all the high people could have guns. Lower people couldn't. So they could only carry knives and stuff. So low class, knives. And so it was like the high houses were like the samurai class, because I was also taking inspiration from Japan. So the high house are like the Japanese, right? Where they took all the swords for the higher class of people. And so they had a monopoly on pretty much everything because they had most of the power. The low people had no swords, right? They can only have knives. So there was one house called, what is it? The House of Night. Of Night. And they were all ninjas. So we had samurai and ninjas. What does this have to do with love? Not much. But okay, so Romeo, I don't even have a name for this guy. We'll call him Romeo. He came back from abroad after he broke up with I don't know who in the story. So he's been gone for 2 years. He comes back. And he's of the House of the Night. Right? Juliet is, of course, of a higher house, the samurai. So she's highborn. He's of the House of the Night. But they're ninjas, and these people are samurai. Maybe I should start some drawings, because let's give some kind of impression that we're actually doing what is required. So let's see. Love would have a guy and a girl. And she's like that. And he's, got his hands around her. It's just a gesture. They're a bit too close. From the outside looking in, you're going, oh, that's going to be a problem. All right. Any father who sees this guy and his daughter, oof, there's a problem right there. But anyways, so that's just a gesture. If the theme is love, let's actually act like we're doing the assignment. So she has her palm, and he has her hand. Right? And if, she's demure, she looks away. Right? But she has her hand. Like that. Right. Right. Maybe she's trying to leave. And he's like, wait, no. I don't know. We're just doing gestures. There's the classic one where what she's on, Juliet is on a balcony or something, right? And maybe she's out on the balcony. And he's climbing up or something. I haven't read Romeo and Juliet in a long time. But we're committing to this this theme, right? We're in it to win it. Is there a balcony? Or maybe I'm thinking of Rapunzel. I don't know. But he's climbing up to her balcony. Again, the father won't be happy about this. there's just greenery or something that he's climbing up. But anyways, yeah, he was House of the Night, Romeo. She was of the Samurai House. And since they had all the guns, right? They had a special upper class. The fighters had, I kind of call it gun fu, like kung fu with guns, but that just sounds so goofy. But they were like experts with, ritual practice with guns. So they could, they had forms, like form 1 across the body, because you know how, when you're sword practicing, they practice forms. It's like form 1, above the head, form 2, extended out in front of you, form 3, and you keep on going with forms, and they go form 1, and you go back to the position. So like form 1, form 2, right. Form 3, it's like, and they got their pistols and whatnot. 1, 2, 3, and there are different forms for gun holding, gun movement, fluid motion, be decisive, and what people would learn when learning a martial art or something. And the House of the Night, the ninjas, they were controlled by the high houses, sent out on missions where assassination, espionage, and that type of thing. So Romeo's mother is the head of the House of the Night. Okay? And so she has, she seems unassuming, very, very plain, very unassuming, because, that's her job. Assassination, you don't want it to stand out. Until one day she's talking with one of the head of the ruling houses, and he notices that she has, she extends a hand, and he notices that she has some jewelry on, which jewelry, your station isn't supposed to have these things. So there's some slight jealousy that, hey, what is this? And that would be what? Juliet's father and her son Romeo. What they have tattoos on their body, but their tattoos, I am so far off topic. All right, so they have these ritual tattoos though. And so on tattoo, it's like a rite of passage. And you sit in like a room where all the other Houses of the Night ninjas that have graduated and moved on, they're of a higher level than our hero. And the ink is mystical ink. And so there's tons of these people all gathered around him with the ink. And the ink is special in that it comes out and then will mystically attach to the skin. And it hurts like all heck, but you're supposed to endure it. And it will take the form of whatever, it's almost like a spirit animal, right? It'll take different forms for different people. So this Romeo has two. Right? Usually you only get one, and it's painful. He has one of a tiger and one of a cat with wings, with bat wings. And you can summon that, right? So if you have a tattoo on your back, and it's of, say, a tiger, right? A horrible tiger, but anyways, so it's on your back, but it would come off your body, and it could do espionage type things. Like where it is, you can hear and see what it sees. So it would help with espionage. Right. It's the back of his head. So yeah, Romeo, his mom, the clan of House of the Night ninjas, Upper House samurai are all gun wielders. So Tybalt is the enemy, right? I thought he was the one who wants Romeo dead. And Tybalt, I don't know why, I figure since he's of a high house, right? That he's young, he's healthy, like broad-shouldered, ripped to all heck, works out daily. He's at the top of his game. He is the most dangerous creature, right? But because he comes from a high house, he has jewelry. He's got the fur coat. And he looks like $1,000,000, and he's built like it. Right? He's got the long coat. He is the beast, right? Wherever he goes, and he's a troublemaker. Wherever he goes, everyone has to watch out because he is dangerous. He's got the guns hidden right under his coat. But yeah, wherever he goes, usually there's going to be trouble. You know, every restaurant, every bar, they're like, oh no, it's Tybalt. Tybalt. So yeah, he's a menace. And of course, eventually what? Juliet is going to have to escape from the house, right? And she goes to a house party where Romeo's there, and he meets the girl that broke up with him 2 years ago, which caused him to leave and go on his world. You know, she broke his heart. This girl was a vixen. Rosalind the vixen. She broke his heart. And he left a beaten, broken man. She's like, no. No love for you, sir. No love for you. And so Romeo left, went around the world, had adventures, trying to get over to her. Comes back, goes to the house party of his friend. I don't know of any other characters in Romeo and Juliet. But he has two best friends. I don't know what their names are, but one is the best of the ninja clan, right? One of his friends. We'll call him B. And B is the funny one. He is at the top of the ninja world, right? The most successful missions. He's cocky. He knows he's got it. He's like, yeah, I'm the best. He's the funny one. He has good spirit. Right? And he thinks of Romeo as his little brother. And then the other one is the more analytical. Not as good. Let's say he has glasses. I don't know why. It's a trope. Smart guy has glasses. So anyways, he has glasses, and he's the analytical one. He's not as good as B, but he's good. He thinks on his feet. Maybe sharply dressed. He's got his hidden knives. Let's have his art down. Oh yes. What will he call him? B and C? I don't know. B and C. I don't know. And this is Romeo. So yes, at the house party, he sees Rosalind. He's like, oh no, my ex. So he goes out, and that's when he runs into Juliet. And Juliet is of a high house, and she's studying to be a doctor. She is like a princess, let's say. She's been raised right. She's an upstanding citizen. She cares for other people, hence why she wants to be a doctor. And she wants to leave and also go abroad. Right? So say she wants to Doctors Without Borders and to actually help people. But she slips out of the house. Doesn't Juliet have like a nursemaid or something? So yeah, she's accompanied by somebody. I don't know. Yes, she is a lady. Prim and proper. And these guys are more or less lower class. So yeah, she has a chaperone, let's say, of a friend who's to make sure that nothing goes wrong. So they're out at this house party. And that's when he's trying to duck his ex, Rosalind, the woman who broke his heart. He accidentally runs into Juliet. And they like each other. And then, it happens as Romeo and Juliet does. But of course, he has to run into, eventually, Tybalt, who does not like this. Wait, no. This guy with the upper class? No. No. That shall not be. So, yes. And so, right, this is new. I don't call it New York. I think, New Haven. And the sea level, right, has covered up most of New York. So they had to raise the buildings upwards. But there's lower ones near the water, near the water line. While beyond the clouds, if this is the cloud layer, up here, there's the high class, the highborn. It's like the penthouse suite. So if you live below the cloud line, you're low class. And you can only have knives. Up here, I don't know. And it's more cyberpunk aesthetic. But anyways, in the end, Tybalt and Romeo, they get into it. And it's, it's perfectly seen that he is outmatched. So B, who was the best, B and Tybalt come to blows. Guns against knives. And while he gets a good hit in, and even brings Tybalt to his knees. But he ends up dying because Tybalt is undefeated. I don't quite have an ending though, which is not good. I usually have an ending to my stories because I think it helps in the making of them. Because if you know where it ends, you know how to, pace it. But yeah, that was. I am so far afield. I'm so sorry. But yeah, that's how about we do one more drawing for this section? Love. How about two people sitting, watching the sunset. Yeah. They're on the bench, just enjoying each other's company as the sun sets on the horizon. Yeah. And that is love. Love and a wild tangent. I'm sorry. That was rude of me. So that's gesture. This is just random stuff, but yeah. You're just trying to get your ideas out. However you can. It could be stick figures. It could be more involved stick figures. Just get your ideas out and then see what you got and see how they can be modified to make them better. So let's continue on to the next thing, which is perspective. Yeah. Okay, so for the last thing, we are doing perspective. 1 point perspective. Like so. And 1 point perspective is great for having a subject be the main focus. Let's see, the idea is that what we want as the main focus. So if it's a love story, we want, say, the object of desire to be the most important figure. Well, we'd have the figure here. So this is, say, the focal point. And I usually rough out something like, we're just doing construction lines. And the further away, the closer the distance lines get. But again, everything goes to this point. This is like a camera, right? Within a frame. So we're here looking at whatever is in the frame. Let's make another layer on top of this. And say, we're just gonna rough it. Say this is the balcony of Juliet. It says the room, and there's the balcony door. We will want Juliet here. So say she's standing. She's standing, maybe looking at the stars. And she's leaning over the rail of her balcony. And it's a night sky, and there's like stars. And she's looking at the stars. There's plants. Maybe this is plants growing over the side and draping down. So maybe there's a lot of plants. She likes greenery or something. We're doing this on the fly, just telling stories here. There's another. Some kind of tree is on her balcony or something. So we have the interior of the room. Of course, if that's the spot. All lines point towards this spot. Let's say there's stuff in her room, like a couch maybe. And maybe a desk. But again, all lines go to this vanishing point. Maybe there's a wall. Maybe the bed is here. But every line converges to this point. Maybe there's a rug. And a bookshelf. Whatever you can think of for this room, but all the lines again converge. I'm doing this super rough, but all it takes is some cleanup and using a ruler, just getting all those lines nailed down. This is just for a demonstration, but this is the basics of our scene. And the intent, right, is to make Juliet the focus. So she would be near the vanishing point, because every line goes to her, but she's just at the vanishing point. So that was perspective, 1 point perspective, with a little bit of gestural flair, I guess. I don't know. So yeah, let's now look at the schedule. So for this 14th, we did shapes, heads and hands, mannequin, anatomy, sculpture, gesture, and 1 point perspective with a little bit of gesture. Tomorrow is Thursday the 15th, where we have shapes, heads and hands, mannequin, anatomy, sculpture, and gesture. So we're more or less going back to our natural, normal routine. So we did it again. Art Bootcamp, buddy. So I hope you learned something. Hope that was helpful. And I will see you on the next video. Take care.